So it's 2015 as we record this, which means that if you are like millions of other people, you have a cell phone. And you probably also have some sort of card that you use to pay for things. It could be a credit card, a debit card, it could be, Diners Club, but that might be different. And odds are, if you're watching this video, you are overwhelmingly likely to have an internet connection. Here's the thing about these three kinds of communication, these three sorts of medium of transaction, they all leave a little trail of breadcrumbs behind. And every little breadcrumb, every 1 0, every piece of data, location, financial, health-wise about you can be sold from the people who gathered it originally to other people and amassed. And together, these can form a strange, unique fingerprint, an ID, a profile of you. And that is big data. So welcome to the show. We've got Matt behind the camera. I'm Ben. That makes this stuff they don't want you to know. And let me amend that definition of big data here. Big data is just an umbrella term for a massive amount of information. It could be stuff like where does Matt go every Thursday at 4:27 p.m. or what does Ben always buy online or stuff like that. But not just for us two, scaled up to an entire population, even a global population. And from this, there's this idea that we can predict trends. We can make people more likely to do, say, or buy what we want them to do, say, or buy. And we hear a lot of misinformation about this stuff, a lot of sensationalism, but there are some things that are truly scary about big data. Here are 4. Number 1. Big data can be used to learn your secrets. And we're not just talking about, those songs that you hum to yourself at stoplights and would be embarrassed if people found out about it, like Blinded by the Light or Call Me Maybe or something, right? We're talking about stuff like medical records that could impact your standing, maybe at your job, maybe with your insurance. We're talking about stuff like banking records that could have the same sort of impact. We're talking about maybe addiction issues, secret vices, illicit affairs. Things like that can be reconstructed from these little pieces of information we leave behind, not just on internet searches, but on stuff like your GPS. A fellow named Tim Sparapani, who is a VP at the Application Developers Alliance, said in an interview that most businesses are beginning to realize they have a secondary revenue stream, a second form of income made by selling the information about their consumers to other companies. Some companies who only do this for a living. And here's the scary part. He said that some of these companies are realizing this second revenue stream, your information, could be just as profitable, if not more profitable, than the products and services that they're selling to individuals like you. 2. Big data and the businesses collecting it in general don't really have to tell you what they know. At this point, as we record this in 2015, there's no Freedom of Information Act for private retailers and the stuff they're collecting about you and where they're sending it. But we do know that this is an active thing and the people doing it might surprise you. I don't know if you guys have heard of the anecdote about Target, how Target was able, based on what they call their guest ID, to figure out that a high school girl, a teenage girl, was pregnant and send ads and stuff to her about her coming pregnancy before her parents knew about it. Before really anybody knew about it. Her father was livid until he found out that, oh, yep, his daughter is pregnant and it was due in August. And Target found out before he did. And you can read some great interviews about this practice, this predictive analysis of data. There's a guy specifically working for Target named Andrew Pohl who did talk about this briefly in a New York Times article until he was told to stop communicating by Target. And at this point, we've done some episodes about this, but I guess we'll just go ahead and give an honorable mention to the MVP of data analysis and data hoarding, Facebook. Yeah, totally, Facebook. Are you logged in now? I mean, you can log out. It doesn't matter. It's still going to follow you. 3, it can lead to discrimination, maybe not in the way you think. If you've seen the film Gattaca, it talks about a future world wherein people are discriminated against because of their medical records or their genetic code, right? And this isn't something that's happening yet. I mean, that's still science fiction, thankfully. But it brings us to the idea of relevant search results. You know, who decides what's relevant to you? This is illustrated in great detail during a TED Talk about the search bubble, which means that based on your past search history, based on the past websites you visited, and other data collected about you, the search results that you get when you type in something are not going to be the same as the search results that Matt would get or that I would get. 4, and this is the really spooky one, we don't know how much we're giving away. We really don't know. Federal Trade Commissioner Julie Brill had said famously that consumers have lost control of their data, where it goes, who has it, etc. Some companies exist only to market and agglomerate and build and trade this sort of information. They're called data brokers. The largest one is one called Axiom here in the United States. That's ACXIOM, and this company knows a lot about you, probably already, especially if you live in the States. It likes to say that it has about 1,500 pieces of information on around 200 million Americans. Just for comparison, as of 2014, the population of the US was 318.9 million Americans, which means that this one company has a boatload of information about more than half of the country. And how much do you know about them? Well, how much can you know? They're pretty squirrely about revealing their methods or their proprietary collection things. A group of several senators has introduced legislation called the Data Broker Accountability and Transparency Act, and its stated aim is to allow consumers to control what information is marketed out somewhere, to control access to that information, and basically have a little bit more transparency on their side. Because what's happening, opponents argue, is not some kind of transparency or better advertising for the consumer. Instead, it's an inequality of transparency, where you as the consumer are not allowed to know what is happening with the information that's been gathered about you and who has it. And of course, we've all heard the old sayings, or they're old by now, like whenever you type something online, just assume it's public record. And that may well be true, even more so as the years progress. But let us know what you think. Is the convenience or the perceived convenience of targeted advertising and relevant search results worth the potential of losing your privacy? Have you taken any action to prevent your information from becoming public knowledge, or would you want to? Is this one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you so scared, huh? Why are you so scared? Or is this something that is going to become more of a problem as the years progress? Thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments down below. Click subscribe if you haven't yet, and stay tuned because we have an audio podcast coming out about this, and we have a new video coming out at the end of this week. Can software predict the future?